Hello and good evening, our beloved viewers. It's 9 p.m. You are watching on live RTD channel. Welcome to this English news edition. Here are the top stories. Provisional result, the UMP came out on the top. And on the regional scenes, Algeria, 10 days in the falls of a bad sea revenue. Those were the top stories. Thanks for joining us in our newsroom. The Minister of Interior, Mr. Saeed Noor Hassan, announced last night the plenary result of the legislative election that took place in a union of a presidential majority achieved a landslide victory. In the first part of his speech, the Minister of Interior said that the legislative election in the country took place in a warm atmosphere and a good place. In the second part of his speech, the Minister of Interior, Mr. Saeed Noor Hassan, announced that the plenary result for legislative election merits, according to this interim result announced by the Minister of Interior, the parties follow up on the Djiboutian win of the Union for the presidential majority coalition, with a large majority in the National Assembly next to the UDG party, has 7 seats in the constituency of Djibouti. The effort made by the Djibouti radio television during the event and the evening broadcasts of a legislative election in Djibouti were on I congratulate, he said, the Minister of my department and the radio television of Djibouti for the institution, and I participated near the organization of this important national event. It was yesterday, Friday evening. The counting of a vote took place in the presence of international observers, including the observers from the African Union, the Arab League, and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, but also the Commission Government for the Community Development. The countdown is an important moment in any election that take place in the presence of the representative of National Committee and exploitive for the election and representative of the formation that contributes to the polling of voters in the election legislative of 2023. In total, there were 2 lists in competition and 8 lists to the refer the Federation for the Majority presidential leadership led by the president of the Union for the majority, Abdul Qadir Kamel Mohammed, who requested from voters across the country to compromise 2 lists of the Union for Democracy and Justice, led by the president of the list of UDG, Ms. Leia Ismail Gidi Hared, who competed in the Kabul and in Arta region. The National Radio and Television Corporation prepared all its human and material capability by organizing a special evening parliamentary entitlement in order to broadcast live on Djibouti Radio Television the parliamentary result for the entitlement elections witnessed by Djibouti. A big party was organized last night in front of the town hall squares to announce the parliamentary result of the election. The legislative election that took place yesterday, Friday, took place across the country. The night is started with the arrival of the ballot boxes from the office of the capital, which were transported by the security service to the governorate of Djibouti. This legislative election was preceded by the host and campaign that lasted for 2 weeks. Various lists of the candidates for legislative election educated the voters to obtain their votes and elected the member of the legislative bodies since independence. So from the next 5 years, the Radio and Television Corporation provided all the necessary materials and human logistical supplies in order to revitalize this evening of the legislative election that were organized in front of the mayor's yard, Djibouti city, until late Friday evening. During the election campaign, the RTD team, consisting of journalists and technicians, were deployed throughout the country to ensure a good and diverse media coverage with the strict respect for pluralism, and that under the supervision of the RTD director, Mr. Aden Abdi Chama, and his crew and journalists and all the staff of technician and manager communication, especially the responsible for the coordination and activities. The election evening was varied and intense with the guests' intervention from the Ministry of Interior, members of the Independence and National Election Commission, and party representative, the Djiboutian men and women through the radio, television, and internet followed the announcement of the result in the center. This was made by the president of the Union for Presidential Majority, UMP, Mr. Abdul Qadir Kamel Mohammed, made a statement following the announcement of the result by the Interior Minister Saeed Noor Hassan. In his statement, the head of the Union for the Presidential Majority Party thank all the Djiboutian voters for their confidence and their participating in the polling station and their admission to their duties. We congratulate all the institution of the Minister of Interior, conclude the minister. And for her part, the president of UDG party made a brief declaration. First of all, she said, I would like to sincerely thank our activists and supporters for their dedication throughout this election campaign. Your efforts have been essential in enabling us to present our vision in Djiboutian citizens, and I am also proud of our party for the professionalism we have shown throughout this campaign. We have led healthy and respectful debates by exposing our constructive political convictions. This is the testimony of our nation's attachment to the democratic value of our country, to the well-being of our society, and the supreme interests of our nation. The day of the serenity, and I'm still happy of noting that these have done in a calmness and serenity. The voters were able to exercise their right to vote in complete safety and optimal condition. I would like to salute the remarkable work of all the electoral agents as well as the security forces. Despite our commitment and our effort, the provisional results show that we did not win as many seats as we will have liked. We prescribe result with the respect for the will of voters. Finally, I would like to thank all the citizens who voted massively yesterday in a responsible and conscious way. One more word, this election testified to the majority of our country in terms of democracy and transparency. In a close cooperation with the Ministry of Health, Al Rahma Hospital in Belbela last Thursday made by running a multi-dimensional medical convoy for the Demirjog district in Arta region. The inauguration ceremony of this convoy, which is the second of its kind in the Kuwait Mercy, two convoys of a series medical team took place in the presence of the regional director of the International Organization Association in Djibouti, Mr. Abdul Qani Ismail, and the closest collaboration beside the district of Demirjouk. This medical convoy, which include 8 specialists, to the most important of which were women, obstetrics, and children, was aimed at general and internal surgery and eyes covering treatment and medicine from 800 patients. It should be also noted that the last Tuesday, Al Rahma Hospital hosted a dedicated ceremony to launch Kuwaiti Mercy, two convoys which will be implemented by the African Relief Committee of the Association Mercy International State of Kuwait under the supervision of the Ministry of Health. This convoy, which number 7 in total, target out about 3,500 participants and patients in the city all over the national territory, according to what was indicated by the project controllers, Mr. Khalid Abul Harad. In his speech, the regional director of Mercy International of Djibouti, Mr. Abdul Qani, referred in his speech to, he said that this event and the medical convoy came with a generous donation from the state of Kuwait, expressing his thanks to the Djiboutian authorities headed by the President of the Republic for his continued support for the work and charity in the country. For his part, the assistant governor in the Merjog district of Arta, Mr. Abdul Rashid Nur Yusuf, he present a great deal thanks and appreciation to the Mercy International Society of the state of Kuwait and represented by the regional office in Djibouti to organize this such medical convoy, which is carried out by medical specialties from Al Rahma Hospital. He said he also said that this tangible importance of the annual medical caravan, which aimed to bring specialized medical care closer to the population, especially those who live in the region of remote areas. He also thanked the medical convoy, include 8 specialists, the most important of which are obstetrics in genital children, but also the internal surgery in addition to the children. And now moving on to the international scene, the Algerian Civil Protection announced that at least 10 people were killed and 23 injured on Friday after their bus fell off in the north of the city. The country in the country. The bus was heading from Algeria to the resort town of Tegda when it fell to the state of 150 meters near the town. According to the same sources, all the injured were taken to the hospital close to the scene of the accident. This is it for this edition. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful evening.